Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we are looking at the band Archangels. They put out one album in 1992, and that was it. Well, they actually put out a live album, but we're not going to count that. So this is part of our new series called One and Done. So we're going to look at like bands that put out one or two records, and that's it. So get ready. This is going to be great. It's a panel discussion, so stay tuned. Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and here we are, the first episode in our new series, One and Done. So like I said in the intro, the concept of this is we're going to look at these bands that maybe put out one or two records and then disappear. So if anybody heard of the band Archangels, well, this is a perfect example of a band that's a one and done band. I want to welcome our panel tonight. We got Byron, Bolt, Ernesto, and we've got John the Music Nut here. Look at you guys. How is everybody tonight? And are you ready to talk some Archangels?
Good.
I'm living in a dream.
You are living. Well, you know, Byron, you definitely are living in a dream. That's true.
And I just stumbled out of Paradise Cafe. That's right.
You did. Oh,
I did.
Damn. All right. So Archangels, you want to call it, I guess you would call it a blues supergroup, formed in Austin, Texas in the early 1990s. The band came together after the death of Stevie Ray Vaughan. Say that real fast. Because it's got two of Stevie's band members in the band. The rhythm section, Doyle, well, no. It would be Double Trouble. So it would be Chris Layton and Tommy Shannon. The band also has Charlie Sexton. Now, if anybody remembers Charlie Sexton, he was that really skinny dude that put out that one solo album, like in what? Do you guys remember that solo album? 85. And they kind of like threw him out there as like, you know, the next big thing, but then it just kind of went to hell, and that was the end of Charlie Sexton. Well, he turned back up in Archangels. Yeah. So he's in the band with Doyle Bramhall II. So they kind of trade off guitars, and, you know, they go back and forth. They both share like lead vocals. So this is kind of, I guess it's a super group, but I don't know. They put out one record. They got a lot of critical acclaim when they came out, but the record only went to 127 on the Billboard chart. I'm not sure if that's if you would consider that a success or not, but they broke up because Bramhall had a heroin addiction. You know, boys, you just can't mix heroin and rock and roll. It always ends up poorly. So they broke up in 1983, but they put out this one record. So we are going to look at the one record that they did as part of the One and Done series. So, gentlemen, welcome. How are you? Nice to see you.
Great.
All right. Good.
And I figure I'm just going to go clockwise. And you know what? Byron Bolt, he's starting us off. So, Byron, what's your thoughts on Archangels and that one record? And I think what we'll end up doing, it's going to be kind of like the Dark Horse episode. So when you're done with your spiel, and I mean it's not just a spiel, it is a dissertation. When you're done with your dissertation, give me a score out of 10. And we'll kind of go around and we'll just tally up the scores. So, Byron Bolt, take it away. Let's hear about your thoughts on Archangels.
Yeah. When this first came out, I heard a lot of this on the radio. I mean, people will say, "Oh, it didn't really get any airplay." I heard.
I didn't hear
lots.
Byron, I didn't hear jack shit about this record.
They played it a lot here, at least in the Midwest. I can't speak to
where I'm at,
but it was produced by Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul, which is interesting. And so you had mentioned Doyle Bramhall the second. His dad was Doyle Bramhall, who played drums and was a friend of Stevie Ray Vaughan's, and they co-wrote a few of Stevie Ray's bigger hits together. I actually saw Doyle Bramhall once in a bar, his band. I don't remember much about it, but I do remember going to see them. That was like mid-90s maybe. But so yeah, what's interesting about Doyle is he plays left-handed with his guitar upside. He plays like an upside down Strat, and he strings it upside down. So it's a lot like Albert King, and his style kind of reminds me of his as well, because of the way they bend the strings. Charlie is a pretty decent player as well, but this really isn't a guitar album. There's some guitar solo in here and there, but it's not like you're listening to a Stevie Ray Vaughan album where there's just shredding all over the place. It's more about the songs and the vocals. There's a lot of alternating vocals going on, and their voices are somewhat similar, but you can definitely tell that they're different. And Doyle's is a little more grittier, I think, and Charlie's is a little more smooth. They're still technically together, but Tommy Shannon isn't playing with them anymore. They still do some reunion shows, I guess. Tony O'Kay co-wrote a lot of these songs with Charlie, and I know that name, but I really am not familiar with who that is. And,
I don't know.
Mark Benno co-wrote a song on here, and he's another Austin guy, guitarist, and I learned that he played on Doors' L.A. Woman, which I didn't know that till just recently. I figured you might know about that, Grant. Since
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm going to move on here. Okay. Like I said, this is a rock band with a lot of blues influences, but I wouldn't say this is a blues album. There's a few tracks on here.
What are you crazy?
What?
Ernesto's objecting already.
I don't think it's a blues album. Like I said, there's a few songs that are very bluesy. It's more mainstream in a lot of ways, I think. But
it sounds commercial. It's commercial.
Yeah, definitely commercial.
It's commercial.
But there's not a lot of, like I said, it doesn't sound like a Stevie Ray Vaughan album, except for a few songs. I think I can hear him. But anyway, I'm going to get on. I'll talk about a few of the songs I like. I won't go over all of them. But Living in a Dream was the first song on the album, and that's the first song I remember hearing. It's more of a just straight ahead rock song, little blues influences. I'll talk about Set by Angels. Got a lot of airplay here as well. It's more of a ballad. My wife said she thought it sounded a little bit like Midnight Rider by the Allman Brothers, and I could hear a little bit of that.
Yeah, I could hear that. I think I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, See What Tomorrow Brings, that to me sounds like Stevie Ray Vaughan quite a bit as far as a slow ballad. And that's got some really good guitar soloing in it too by both guys. Shape I'm In, we're getting toward the end here. I'm skipping a few of the tracks, but Shape I'm In is a real fast boogie track. That reminds me of The House is Rockin' by Stevie Ray.
Right.
So
you mean The House is Rockin' by Cheap Trick, right?
No.
No, not that one.
Okay, well, I'm a bit slow.
Then my favorite song on here is Too Many Ways to Fall. That also got airplay, I remember. And it starts with this real slow introduction that builds up, and then it really kind of kicks in through the rest of the song, and it's fairly heavy, and it's got a real nice guitar outro to it. And like I said, that's probably my favorite song on here. And if I'm going to rate this,
what would
I'm
you
going to
rate
give
out
it
of
a
10?
I'm going to give it an 8.5.
8.5.
And I'm going to let you guys talk, and I'm sure we're going to come around and there's other things.
With all these shows I do, I want to keep it kind of loose and keep it like a general discussion. But Gary Wilkerson says hello from Texas, which is fitting since this is a Texas band.
Yeah,
and of
exactly.
course, we could not do this show without Star. Star, thanks for popping
Hi,
in. We
Star.
couldn't do it without you, of course, because you're like she's like part of the peanut gallery. We couldn't do that. But all right, Byron, thanks so much. I appreciate that. I'm just curious. Well, I'm not. I don't know if I'm curious
That's
or
a good
not.
score. What did you give it again?
He gave
gonna
it
go
an
8.5.
8.5.
Wow, that's pretty much what I was going to give it.
I'm just curious, but you were talking about in your area. This got a lot of airplay, right?
I would say 3 songs got significant airplay. 2
Well,
definitely.
what do
got
you
significant.
think?
The
Like,
third one
where-
maybe a little bit.
Where I'm at in Central Ohio, I don't remember anything off of this record. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it was timing? I know we had a problem with heroin, which is that's just heroin. We can get over that. But I wonder why this record just kind of, I don't know, went by the wayside.
I think just some areas and some stations just grab onto things a little more than other stations and other areas. Like 127, so it didn't do terrible, but that's not great either.
Well, I don't think it went double platinum or anything.
But I mean, I remember people back in the day. Oh yeah, Archangels. They weren't like this unknown band that nobody knew about. In my opinion, people that I knew, they knew them and liked them. So
look at that. Hello from Amarillo.
There
Yes.
you go.
Hello, DJ
All
Doyle.
right,
in the
man.
Texas
Thanks for coming
crowd
on. Mile Rider 27. Hey, how are you? Thanks for coming
Hey.
on. I
All right,
appreciate it.
27.
And then
Byron,
she's waving her pink hand. So there you go.
here's the thing, Byron. In 1992, when this album came out, you got to understand there wasn't that many big blues bands other than the old school guys, but you had the releases that came out was Black Rose and then Gary Moore's After Hours. And Gary Moore's After Hours was a big hit. That was a big album. Besides, Still Got the Blues, but After Hours was a killer album.
yeah, this is also the same time you were getting that resurgence with we talked like Cry of Love we talked about. This was around
Right,
that
right.
same time.
This is all in the same.
Brother Kane. There was just
Yeah.
they weren't really blues bands per se, but you could hear the blues in them. But the songs were more like commercial rock radio friendly. It just seemed like, and people say, well, grunge. Well, grunge killed metal, but it didn't really kill this kind of music. I don't think.
This is separate.
Yeah. So I don't. The heroin thing probably was a big problem for them because I think maybe they could have done another album. Maybe it would have done well.
I don't know. But if you would have showed me a picture of Charlie Sexton, I figured he was the one on heroin.
Right.
Not Doyle. But
Yeah,
what do I know? I'm just some guy. So anyway, Byron gives it an 8.5. That's wonderful. Let's throw it over to Ernesto. Ernesto, what's your thoughts on the Archangels album?
Well, when we first mentioned that we were talking about, you guys were talking about Cry of Love, and then I brought that up in one of the comments. I said, how come nobody's talking about Archangels? Nobody was. And then I had to get the CD again because I hadn't heard it in a long time. And of course, thanks to Grant, getting into CDs all over again.
Glad I could help, Ernesto.
Yeah. But I was already streaming it because I was listening to it in my car and stuff because I drive around so much. So when I heard it again, I was like, wow, these are some great songs. I mean, I still don't understand why it wasn't as big as it should have been. You know what I mean? It could have been bigger. I don't even think they toured that much. They probably toured more in Texas than anywhere else, I think, But all in all, the songs are great. I mean, like Byron said, there's not all of them are great, but pretty much are some of the good ones. And Sweet Nadine,
Good one.
and Paradise Cafe, of course.
Yeah.
Sent by Angels. Oh my God! If you listen to Sent by Angels, you kind of hear this is the way I hear it. When I hear Sent by the Angels, I hear Bad Company's what do you call it? The Seagull. I hear that
off the self-titled debut.
Yeah, you hear
Yes.
it sounds very similar. It sounds very similar. And then when I'm listening to like Sweet Nadine, I hear Led Zeppelin. I hear that influence. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of influences on this record. You just kind of have to dissect at some point. But, you know, think about it. Everybody's influenced by somebody else. But I think their influences, I think they wear it well, you know? Totally wear it well. Yeah.
And Spanish Moon is a great song. And like Byron said, See What Tomorrow Brings. Oh, all those are all great songs. But of course, Living in a Dream was like their hit. Their one song that they played on rock radio here in Los Angeles. And they played that more than anything. But then after that, disappeared. They stopped playing it.
It's like they gave him a shot, but that's it.
Well, yeah, they gave him a shot and that was it. They didn't play it anymore. And remember, 1992, it was like we were in the grunge phase and metal was kind of like going somewhere else. And blues it's still there, but we don't hear about it because it's not on the radio. Nobody plays blues on the radio. There's not a blues station, you know? Mm-hmm. But since this is more like commercial, but the blues influence is still in there. I mean, you feel it and you hear it. You know,
I mean, we're always comparing it to like Stevie Ray Vaughan. I don't think it's anything like that. But if you listen to Stevie, though, you have to admit a lot of that stuff, the Double Trouble stuff, I mean, it's kind of commercial like this. Right. Do you agree or disagree? It's got similar production. It's kind of slick, but it's not too slick. You know what I mean? It's very polished. So I don't know where I'm going, but
the trading off of vocals is different. Stevie Ray Vaughan never, you know, it was just one guy singing. So it was like totally different. The sound is different, everything. But the playing style is the same. You know, the influence, everything is the same. It's just magic, you know. When you hear this album, you think, wow, this could have been, you know, the next if he didn't die. But the sad thing is if he would have never passed away, this band would have never been together.
That's true.
That's the sad truth, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, look at this. I mean, they got together, they did this. I mean, yeah, they had problems with the drugs and the egos and everything, but they put out a good record and it's going to be around for a long time. And I hope a lot of people listen to it because it's just a great record. And
yeah, I think nowadays, I think it's pretty much forgotten because to be honest, until this topic came up, I kind of like was like, Archangels? What are you talking about? But then I heard it and I went, oh, you mean the Charlie Sexton thing. Oh, okay. But yeah, I don't think this is on anybody's radar anymore, you know. And I think, I mean, it's a decent record. I think, you know, give it another chance, you know.
Yeah.
So Ernesto, what would you rate this out of 10?
8.5.
Holy crap, 2 8.5s.
Yeah.
All right.
And don't forget, it does have some great guitar work. Great guitar work. I love it. You know.
Well, I like the production on it. I think it's for a record in this time period. I mean, it's early. It's 92. It's before things started getting jacked up and brick walled. I think the CD sounds great.
It does. Yeah. I wonder if anybody has it on vinyl.
I don't.
That would be.
I bet you that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Psycho Platters, Archangel. There's a name I haven't heard in a while. Good evening, all. What's
Good
up,
evening, Psycho Platters?
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, well, this is why we do these shows. We're trying to reintroduce these bands that no one talks about. And Psycho, this is part of a new series called One and Done. So we're looking at bands that put out 1 or 2 records and call it a day. So, and Archangels is one of those bands. They put out the one studio album. Yeah, they put out a live album later, but that came out much later. and was recorded live during this era. So I don't know if you want to count that. They put out one studio album, but yeah, we're going to be looking at a lot more one and done acts. So Ernesto, you give that an 8.5?
Yes, I do.
Is there any
And I'm telling you,
is there any particular tracks on here that stand out to you that you particularly like?
well, Sweet Nadine,
It's a good one.
I love that one. And Sent by Angels and Spanish Moon. Those are like, to me, they stand out. It's like, I can play this now. Now that I have the CD, I can play it now. You know what I mean? Because before I just stream it on my phone. But now that I have the CD.
Ernesto, it was really hard for you to play the 8-track of it. I know that.
Well, that's true.
Did this come out on 8-track, by the way?
No, I'm sorry. No, it didn't.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. Well, this came out in 92. They quit pressing vinyl like in 91. I doubt this ever came out on vinyl. So
well, you never know, man. You never know. I hope somebody has it.
I'll look it up.
Well, if you know that 91 was the year they all the plants really stopped. You had some things come out like Foo Fighters and Nirvana, Nevermind and stuff. Well, Nevermind was 91. That's right on the cusp. But anything post 91, very rare. They all pulled the plug on vinyl in 91.
And look at this cover. Isn't this a great cover? It's a great cover, right?
Well, I think it's an okay cover, but it does, for me, it doesn't. What does it say about the band, though?
Well, I mean, it's just the way it's designed. You know, the logo and everything.
Fine, but it doesn't tell me that I want to buy it. I think there's a lot of things into play here. You know, there's no band photo. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just some guy. Yeah, there's a band photo on the back.
There you go. Yeah, you got to be in the back. It's in the back. But yeah.
Psycho said, what about Raging Slab? That sounds kind of dirty. And Sweet Vine.
That's another one. Yeah.
They're cool,
It's
man.
like, hey, man, how's
Raging
your
Slab.
Raging Slab? Hey, I don't know. I can't comment on that. And Sweet Vine, I don't know what that is.
This was available on. This was available on vinyl in Europe originally.
Wow.
$100
Well, yeah.
copy, so.
Well, don't forget, boys, in Europe, they kept pressing vinyl.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the United States where we went, oh, we're done. Like Psycho says, I've got a West German press of Skinner 91. Yeah, it came out in Europe. They kept pressing because there was still a demand. Here, they gave up. Certain things came out, and those records, like what year did help me? I need your guys' brain. Soundgarden. What was the Soundgarden with Black Hole Sun on it? Help me.
Super Unknown. That was 1994.
94. That came out on vinyl because I bought that new. I don't know. Something happened to it, but I did buy the Foo Fighters when it came out, and I still have it. So certain things came out, but it was very limited. So anyway, so there you go. West German press of Skinner 91. Yeah. All right. So we've got 2 8.5s. So far, I was going to say this, is this a Dark Horse album? This would be a different show. But I've been doing so many Dark Horse albums on Contrarians. I'm like almost in a Dark Horse mode. John the Music Nut, what's your thoughts on Archangels?
All right. Well, where did this idea come from for a show? Well, my friends, this is where it came from. I was on Rock Daydream Nation with our friend Mr. Peter Kerr, and we did
Love Peter Kerr.
I do as well. And we did a show about bands that were one and done. And we had a great show, and we had a lot of great comments. And one comment came from Mr. Byron Bolt.
I remember this.
That would be the gentleman to.
What album were we talking about, though, on that show?
Oh, let me think. Oh, gosh. Ooh, I don't. Well, Cry I Love made 2 albums, so it wasn't them.
No,
But what albums was I talking about? Was it what else?
Peter.
okay, I mentioned I went a lot older on a lot of mine. I talked about Derek and the Dominoes, Layla.
Yeah.
I mentioned Skip Spence's Or. I mentioned the Blind Fate self-titled debut.
That's a good
and
one.
then we had like a bunch of honorables.
Right.
And one of the ones I mentioned was Jeff Buckley's Grace album, which I think is a masterpiece. And I thought that Peter was going to mention that. Peter talked more about bands from Australia, but you know, we had some honorables. Another one I think I mentioned was Little Village, which was
they only put out one record,
which was a very good record. We mentioned I mentioned Temple the Dog too. Was it Little Village, Byron?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Who was remind me? But who was John Hyatt?
It was Ry Cooder, John Hyatt, Nick Lowe, and Jim Keltner. Who
you know what? I saw that. You know what, John? I saw that in the used bin for $1 the other day.
Yeah.
You used to see it all the time for $1, but I didn't buy it. I should have bought it. Now I want to get it, but you know,
it's not as, in my opinion, not as good as the stuff that John Hyatt was doing at that time. Like that lineup did the Bring the Family album for John Hyatt, which was the album that introduced a lot of people, including myself, to John Hyatt. And they did that album. They did that album right after Stolen Moments from John Hyatt, and it would have been before Perfectly Good Guitar. So they decided to get together and make that album. And ironically, that was in 1992 as well. And it's a good album. It's very good, actually, I should say. But I think Hyatt's stuff from that era was excellent, and a lot of it after. Too.
Well, very critically acclaimed. I'll give you that.
Well, he's amazing.
He's amazing. Well, there you go.
In my opinion. But anyway, I know I'm rambling here, but
that's all right. You're
Byron said, "What about Archangels?" And it was like, oh shit, how did I forget Archangels?
I also mentioned BBM.
BBM, and that was another
good
moment, because that's a great one. Well, that one's a very good one, I'd say.
Yeah,
I think Gary Moore really. For those of you out there, that's Ginger Baker, Jack Bruce, and Gary Moore.
Yeah,
and that's a pretty good album. A lot of the songs are very similar to old Cream songs, but Gary Moore is playing on there is magnificent.
Yeah.
That's a one album deal too.
Yes, it is.
What about the album Robin Trower, Jack Bruce, BLT?
Yeah. Well, they actually
did too. Well,
they two
different drummer though. Different drummer on those two albums, I think.
There you go.
Oh, one was Lorden and one was Bill Lorden
and I think the other was who was the original drummer for Trower?
Reg Isidore.
Maybe he is on one of those. I don't.
Okay.
Maybe not, but I think they had a different drummer on those.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Gotcha. Yeah, but they did do two. But
those are forgotten now too. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, we can get to them one day if you'd like. But anyway, that was something that Byron mentioned, and then we just emailed each other. He goes, "Maybe we should talk to." Actually, Byron said, "Maybe we should suggest this to Grant." I'm like, "Okay, that's too easy." But I'll tell you what. Now,
sucker.
Yeah, like Byron, we heard these songs off this album heavy for a good year, maybe year and a half, in 92 to 93. Sent by Angels and Living in a Dream was the one you heard first. And then when I heard Sent by Angels, and those got played heavy, Shape I'm In got played heavy, Too Many Ways to Fall got good amount of airplay here on the AOR stations, and don't get me started on the good old days of AOR, because you won't be able to get me off the channel. Anyway, they got played heavy here, and I bought this album right when Sent by Angels hit, because I fell in love with that song, and then from there, I mean, I had to pick this baby up. But this album, I'm going to echo a lot of the sentiments that Byron and Ernesto had said. This is blues rock. It's not blues. It's the playing styles here, they don't go really crazy. Like there's a fiery solo during Living in a Dream, but outside of that, again, it's more for the song. It's more economical. It's more Jimmy Vaughan than Stevie Ray Vaughan, to put it that way. Because Jimmy Vaughan's an excellent guitar player as well, but Stevie was a little more emotional. He had more fire in his playing. Fantastic singer.
So would you say this is more like Fabulous Thunderbirds as opposed to
closer to that, but Fabulous Thunderbirds were more steeped into blues than Archangels. Archangels is more blues rock.
I would like to go back and listen again to the Vaughan Brothers album to see how this compares to that.
I used to have.
I have it still.
Byron, that's funny. I used to have it on mini disc.
You talking about Family Values?
Family Style.
Family Style, yeah.
I had it on when mini discs were out. I had it on mini disc.
Oh my God, mini disc.
Because that might be a better example of what this is closer to.
Right.
I'd have to check it again.
This is more fire than Family Style. Family Style's kind of laid back.
Yeah, it is.
Like if you remember, like TikTok was the biggest single from that. I mean, there's nothing quite as mellow as TikTok on here, but there are some songs like, especially that instrumental at the end where Jimmy and Stevie Ray go back and forth with the solos. That's pretty impressive. But Hard to Be's kind of the opening track on here. That's closer to what's on this debut only album from Archangels. Okay, so but as I was mentioning, Golden Days of AOR, you had 4 songs on here get played pretty well on the AOR stations. You don't hear them now, unfortunately. It only got to 127, but you wouldn't 127 on the Billboard charts. You wouldn't know it by how much it got played on AOR. Perhaps it was a regional thing, as Ernesto said. You really only heard "Living in a Dream" there in California. Yeah, Telephone Line was also a good song. I'm just reading the comment here from DJ Dog 31. Telephone Song, I believe it's called. Yeah, Telephone Line. That was ELO, but Telephone Song, I believe. Yeah, that was side 2, song 3. I had the cassette.
Wow, TikTok, you still remember?
TikTok was
holy
side 2,
crap,
song
John,
2.
you're hardcore. Yeah, it was the 3rd song on side 2.
Oh, I can get into that in another time. But this album here, I mean, what really stands out on here, you have so much great vocal interplay between Doyle Bramhall II and Charlie Sexton. These aren't duets. They're taking turns. There you go. There's Family Style. There you go. Little mellower than Stevie Ray Vaughan in Double Trouble, but a fine record. Anyway, on here, what really stands out is that great interplay between Charlie Sexton and Doyle Bramhall II. Sometimes they're trading lines in the same verse. I mean, they do it a lot on here. I mean, there's very few songs that one of the guys sings straight through. I mean, except maybe See What Tomorrow Brings and I believe The Famous Jane. I think they're just going back and forth on those vocals. But excellent tracks on here. Paradise Cafe is a great mid-tempo blues rocker with a really cool chorus. Some great playing on that. Sweet Nadine. Sweet Nadine is acoustic in the verses, and then it's got this really cool guitar line in the chorus, and it works as well as a hook, and it's a very memorable guitar line. That's a very strong track right there. See What Tomorrow Brings, the tearjerker ballad. Doyle sings the heck out of that one. That's a wonderful song. Great emotional guitar solo in it. It's an excellent track. Always Believed in You. That's got another great chorus in it. It's a little harder and heavier. That song and Too Many Ways to Fall are probably the hardest, the closest to a hard rock track you'd have on here. But those tracks burn. They're great. Spanish Moon has this fantastic groove in it. Very sinister groove. awesome track. And before I get into more of the tracks, again, Little Steven, his recording and production on here, fantastic. The only thing
I was going to interrupt real quick. So
Go.
you like the Little Steven production, you like the way it sounds. So you still think that this recording still holds up? Because you know, a
Without
lot of
question.
recordings, you know how it worked. The 80s would extend way beyond the 80s. And we're still talking 92. I'm just talking. I think it still holds up too. I think the record sounds great. I think the record could have came out yesterday. What do you think?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I would probably have the Tommy Shannon space a little higher in the mix, just a little. Because I mean, you can hear him, but at times you got to strain. But when he's mostly he's just playing with the drummer more often than not. He doesn't do anything flashy. He does very little flashy, to say. But when he does do some different things, you can hear them on him. And Chris Layton sounds great. His drums are recorded very well.
Yeah, I think the drums on this record sound killer.
Absolutely. Yeah, so the Famous Jane, that has more of a roots rock sound. That's one Charlie sings. That sounds a lot like, kind of like what Hootie and the Blowfish would do later. Or with Driving and Crying, their more melodic stuff sounds a lot like this song. There's a band that had a good following that was from here in Northeast PA called the Badleys. They made a great record in '92 called Diamonds in the Coal. And before they made it nationally with River Songs, the Famous Jane sounds a lot like something the Badleys would do. And I mean that as a compliment, because at their best, the Badleys were a heck of a band. As far as other tracks on here, Shape I'm In is more of a blues shuffle, 3-chord shuffle. It's really cool. That got played really heavy here, as I mentioned before. Good Time is okay. It's just more of it's something that would work better live. It's just something for Charlie and Doyle to show off their chops a little bit.
It's real funky.
I like Good Time. It's funny that you say that, because I thought Good Time was like one of the standout tracks.
I think for me, it's my least favorite, but the playing's good on it. But I mean, it just sounds like something. If it sounds like it's something that you would play later in the set, and to get the people really into it. I mean, they're already into it at that point. You want to keep that momentum going.
Or if you want to get the people out on the dance floor or something.
Exactly. That's where it would work well. Carry Me On is another strong track on here as well. But my favorites, the singles, the songs that hit AOR, Living in a Dream, Sent by Angels, Too Many Ways to Fall, Shape I'm In, they're all really strong. See What Tomorrow Brings is fantastic ballad. And Sweet Nadine and Paradise Cafe, they're all great. I mean, I would give this the same ranking as Ernesto and Byron did. I would give it an 8.5.
Jiminy Christmas. Here I thought we were
good. I mean, it's that good. I was almost going to give it a 9.
Yeah.
But I kind of edged off it, because it just fell out of the radar, But it's
great.
If
you look at this and you compare it to, what did you gentlemen give Archangels? I'm trying to remember how we rated that.
We all rated Archangels 8.5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there a preference between either one, or do you just like both of them the same? Evidently, you like both.
Which one are we talking about?
Yeah.
Archangels.
This is Archangels.
This is Archangels.
No, I'm talking. Oh my God.
Cry of Love.
Cry of Love. Jesus.
Okay, now Cry of Love, I gave that the debut. I gave a 9.
I don't keep track of I don't write these down. I should write them all down and keep them. I was probably in the 8 or 9 range, on that. Yeah.
I mean, they're both kind of similar. They're both in that genre. They're both in that time period. I don't know.
You know what's
which one? I'm just curious. Maybe one of you know do you know which one of those records performed better?
Oh.
Did Cry of Love have more success?
Archangels had more success because I don't even know if the Cry of Love album even charted.
Yeah.
This at least charted.
This charted, and this had like 4 AOR hits, whereas the Cry of Love one probably had 2.
And David Geffen got them signed really quick. You know,
Do you guys remember back in the day, there's a lot of promotion?
You did
around this
actually. When you
record?
think about it, yeah.
Was there a lot of promotion? Do you remember?
not that much. I don't think so.
I don't
Not
believe
that.
so.
No.
Yeah, they just kind of threw it out there and hopefully it stuck.
You heard this on the radio, but if there were videos, I never saw them.
I don't think I've ever seen anything.
There are a couple of videos I saw on YouTube for these.
Yeah.
I think Living in a Dream and Too Many Ways to Fall. I think I saw a live video of that.
But they never played those on MTV.
No.
They never did.
Probably not by 92. They didn't.
No.
But they
There
could.
was
I did. I'm sorry to interrupt. I did read that they played both of those songs, "Living in a Dream" and "Too Many Ways to Fall," in separate shows of the Late Night with David Letterman.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I saw a video of them on Leno as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they got on there.
Yeah.
They were getting some exposure on Late Night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because of that whole Charlie Sexton, situation. I mean, people still remember Charlie because what did we say that his record came out? What, 86? Wasn't that
85.
far? 85. It wasn't that far out.
It doesn't hurt having Stevie Ray's band behind him.
And that,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that were
But you know-
going for this band.
But you know what's good about this album too is the trading vocals. You don't really see that in a blues album. You know, you don't see that. It's always just one guy, a singular guy, the Stevie Ray Vaughan guy, the Gary Moore guy, the Albert King, the BB Kings. You know what I mean? They're all just one vocalist. And so
Look at
the
this. Malaya said this
That's
stream
right,
was sent
Malaya.
by angels. Malaya's got it going on.
No doubt about it.
And with the trading vocals, I think it just gives it a different style that's, you don't hear that often,
Yeah, it's
You
great.
don't hear it enough. I mean,
exactly.
And I think
You
I think it's magic when those two guys sing together.
I think
mean,
they
I
have a
have-
good blend. I think they really
Absolutely.
bounce off each other really well. Kind of a yin and yang thing, but the blend is really good. I don't know. I think this record needs to get a lot more love than what it has,
Right. And the drumming. Don't forget the drumming.
And the drumming,
Yeah.
top notch. Well,
Yeah,
production's
I mean-
great.
And Chris gets to show off more of his chops. Like he pretty much played it straight with Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. And he's with Kenny Wayne Shepherd's band for a long time now. And with them, he mostly plays it straight too. But on here, he gets to show off some, and he sounds excellent.
But this is a 31-year-old album, and we're just getting around to reviewing it.
And it's hard to believe 31 years. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I saw
You
a
need to
nice
still
video.
find it too.
There was a video on YouTube of them live from that time period doing Dimples, the John Lee Hooker song, And they did a slow version of it, but I swear to God, you listen to that and musically it was Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Right.
the sound of the guitars, the rhythms, and then they both take solos and I'm like, wow. Because like I said, they kind of hold back on the album a little bit,
Right.
but and that's where I noticed the whole Doyle playing upside down. Because he's like bending the high E string, but it was on top, and I'm like, that's just like Albert King, and it sounded like Albert the way he would bend them. So, I was impressed by that live video. So
Nice.
Well, there you go. Well, I can't really add to what everyone else has added. I think.
Well,
all you
what do you think about the album, Grant?
I'm going to say.
I want to know.
Well, for some reason, okay, I keep wanting to compare it to Cry of Love. Me, I don't know if I should compare. That's probably not fair. But the Cry of Love stuff, when we did that show, holy mackerel. And that second Cry of Love album, I loved it. This is in that vein. The production on here is good. I think the songwriting's good. The guitar playing, I really cannot complain about it. And like I said before, I like the interplay between Charlie Sexton and Doyle. I think that's great. I don't know. For me, I think that the Cry of Love album is just a little bit more memorable. I don't know what it is about that record that I like.
The Hendrix vibe.
It could be that Hendrix vibe. And the fact that the guitar on that record is just out of control.
Yeah.
This is a little bit more subdued. But Cry of Love, holy mackerel, the playing on that is just unbelievable. And I think it may hold, but it's not fair for me to compare the two. But since we've done the show on them, I will. That tends to hold my attention more of that guitar oriented. Yeah, this is guitar oriented, but what was the gentleman who was playing guitar on Cry of Love? Help me. Do you remember?
Oddly Freed.
Yeah.
A machine. Yeah. A machine. So I kind of lean towards that record if I'm going to listen to this type of music in this genre. I guess you can call it a genre. But I think this is a fine album. It sounds like it could have been recorded yesterday. Playing's nice. Stevie, Stevie, you know, what's his name?
Charlie?
No, you know, the guy in
Oddly?
Sopranos. The Soprano guy.
Little Steven.
Little Steven. I like what he does with the band. I think his productions, I have no issues. It could have come out yesterday. What would I give it? God, you guys give it all 8.5. I would probably give it a 7 out of 10. It's okay. I could see where maybe this album might in the future just kind of, I mean, this is why I probably didn't even hear about it. It just kind of went by the wayside, you know? I don't want to be harsh on it, but it's a fine record. But I don't see anything particularly great that really stands out that just makes me go, oh my God, like I've had a come to Jesus moment. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, I don't know what should say. It's a fine record. It's not anything it's not a classic. I would not consider this a classic. It might just be a blip on the screen, but I would recommend someone to listen to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to set the world on fire. I feel bad for Cry of Love. I don't want to go back to Cry of Love, but I can't help it. Holy crap. That Cry of Love record is something else. And even the second one, my goodness. This is just a little bit more subdued, and it is what it is. It's fine. But it just didn't reach out to me and grab me, you know. But a 7, I think a solid 7. I'd give it a 7. And a 7's not bad.
Grant, may I add a comment here?
Yeah,
I should have added when I did my little review here.
Yeah.
We did a show, Grant.
We did?
We did a show about our favorite albums in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned a band who had a secret weapon on there too. And the band I mentioned was Izzy Stradlin, the Juju Hounds.
Oh.
And I made note of that, John, that I was going to pick that up, but I have not picked it up yet. Yes.
And the secret weapon on there was Ian McLaughlin. Well, Ian McLaughlin
is on here.
Gives you more goodness. Oh, sorry. Gives you
mean
more
Ian McLaughlin of the Small Faces?
Yes, sir. Ian McLaughlin, he's does some great work on this too.
Mm-hmm.
His organ on Sent by Angels and a few other tracks on here. See What Tomorrow Brings. I mean, it brings another dimension to those songs. As great as those songs are on their own, what he adds to these songs makes them even better. He's not as active on this album as he is on Izzy Stradlin album, but you could definitely hear his Hammond B3 and all the beauty.
Well, if you listen to Ian's work on the Small Faces and the Faces stuff,
oh yeah,
absolutely brilliant, no question. And now he's passed on. He's truly missed because
he is.
What a great musician. And you know what thing about Ian McLaughlin is that he has such a distinct tonality.
Yes.
And when he plays, it just really stands out. I guess I missed that. I didn't realize he was on this record.
Yeah.
So once again, I have failed.
Well, played on 2 strong records from 1992. Left his stamp on them.
John's got the memory, man. You got the memory, John.
John is all over it today.
Thank you, Ernesto.
I, as a host, have failed, but I'm just it's okay. So we unveil our average or rating. We're gonna go with it's a solid 8. It's actually an 8.1, so we'll just go with 8. And gentlemen, there is nothing wrong with an 8. I'd say that's pretty damn good,
Yeah, check this baby out if you can find.
I was going to say if anybody can find it, pick it up. If you're still into physical media,
yeah. And you know what? The great thing about this one too is that even if you're not a blues guy, I really think you can get into it. You know what I mean?
It is.
You don't have to be hardcore blues, BB King. You can listen to the album and say, "Wow, this is actually really good," and I'm not even into blues.
Well, it's like everybody said, it's more like a rock record with a blue tinge to it, with a blues feel.
Yes.
I couldn't put my finger on this band as who they remind me of, but they fit in with a lot of those 90s bands. I mean, I'm not going to say they don't sound like Counting Crows, but you also mentioned something about Hootie and the Blowfish, and there were just a lot of bands like that, and these guys weren't like them, but they weren't that different either from them. At least that's what I feel about it.
Somebody referenced
the 90s.
Somebody referenced Masters of Reality. You guys familiar with Masters of Reality?
Yes.
I'm not.
They mentioned them being kind of like a connection, like sound similar. I don't know. John, what do you think?
I know those early 90s records. Well, they had one guitar. They had one guitarist, I believe. And their bassist sang, but he had a deeper tone to him. I don't think they very little like them.
Right.
I mean, it and Masters of Reality got some airplay with the Sunrise on the Supper Bus album like the next year.
Right.
On the AOR stations. Maybe a little bit.
Right.
There's definitely some like Masters of Reality, I think they were a little closer to Cream, and
Right.
they were a little more closer to what's the sound I'm thinking of? Like Caius and what the heck is the name of that? Like Stoner Rock.
Right.
They were more like stoner rock to me. This isn't stoner rock at all.
No, this is not stoner rock at all. No.
Right. But I like Masters of Reality, but they, just for different reasons.
Right.
So I'm going to assume since everybody gave this such a high rating, we would recommend anyone to pick this up.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, I would recommend some of the Doyle Bramhall second solo albums from the 90s. I'm familiar with a couple of them, and I mean, it sounds like these guys, but just without Charlie Sexton singing, really. He's done a lot of stuff in the last 30 years. He's on all kinds of Clapton albums, tours with him. He's toured with Roger Waters. I guess he dated Renee Zellweger for about 10 years.
Well, who hasn't dated Renee Zellweger?
And Charlie Sexton's played with Dylan, I guess. So
I saw him with Dylan. Yeah, he's been part of his band on and off for many years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like I believe he's the musical director in that band. Yeah.
Wow.
Stunning guitar player.
I guess he got over his heroin addiction.
That'd be Doyle.
That would have been Doyle.
Yeah.
Oh, but Doyle's played.
Oh, you're talking Charlie Sexton, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he's with Dylan now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking up. I mean, Doyle's played on a ton of stuff. He's played on a lot of Sheryl Crow's albums, John Legend, Susan DeJeshi.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, A lot of good stuff. And Clapton, yeah, he played on a lot of the 2000s records with Clapton, and I believe he toured with Waters, and I think he toured with Clapton too. He might still be touring with Clapton.
I just got this the other day, and he's on this too. So.
Oh, nice! I've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
And I think the bass player is the only one that retired, right?
Tommy.
Yeah.
He's a little older than the other guys, though.
Right.
Yeah, he's like 76.
He played with Johnny Winter back in like the early 70s, maybe even the 60s. So he's
like
been
in
around.
Johnny Winter and like in that era.
I think before that. I think he was in his band before Johnny Winter and.
Did he ever play with Edgar? No.
You what?
Did he play with his brother Edgar?
Possibly.
I don't know.
Tommy Shannon's play with a who's who.
Yeah. Tommy's been around a long time.
All right, kids. Well, I guess we've talked about it. Of course, DJG said
I like
Robert
Craig
Cray is another one of my favorites from the genre.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when people were getting rid of vinyl, you could buy Robert Cray all day for $1. I don't know what Robert Cray goes for now, but it used to be cheap.
Still pretty reasonable.
Is it reasonable?
Yeah, you'll see his CDs a lot for next to nothing. Vinyl, all vinyl's worth a little bit these days. But
for now.
Especially if it's in good shape.
Yeah. All right, kids. Well, let's wrap this one up. We give this record an 8.0, 8.1 to be accurate. I guess we would recommend it. I think it's a decent record. Kind of unknown now. I don't know. Yeah. It's a one and done record. They only put out one studio album, and then they put out a live album much later from this era, but they broke up right after this. So for one and done albums go, this is highly recommended. I think people would like it. You like the blues, you like Stevie Ray, you like Cry of Love, for crying out loud. You might like this record, and we would, you might as well try it out and see if you like it. Wait a minute. Here we got another. Yes, Tommy did play with Edgar Winter. Watch Tobacco Road song on YouTube. He's on bass.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you know how those Winter brothers worked.
Derringer played with both of them.
Yeah, they just interchanged everybody and whipped everybody around. It's, it is what it is.
Nice.
But there you go, Tommy Shannon. Yeah. Oh, well. All right, gentlemen, do you have anything else to add when we're going to wrap this dog up? We are at 58 minutes. So
go buy this record. Buy it. Get it.
There you go.
Play it. Play it in any CD player.
Now, if a lot of people don't have CD players, so what would you recommend there?
Good question. You mean
Ernesto would go with 8-track. So
8-track. No, you could get a cheap CD player, really an inexpensive one.
Oh yeah, go to Goodwill. There's plenty there.
Yeah.
I love my CDs. Just look behind me.
Oh yeah, is that your CD thing in the back?
I have a rack of CDs over my shoulder there.
Oh yeah, I think I see it. Yeah.
Oh, that rack over your shoulder.
Oh, there we go.
Byron. Okay.
Grant's got way more than I have.
I can show you that. I have to flip my camera.
I got a lot more, but there's like 450 right there. And then I have another one right over on this wall, and then I got a whole bunch of stuff in boxes. Yeah, I'm a CD junkie like Stephen Schnee.
Stephen Schnee's ears are burning right now.
Good.
Hey, CDs are good.
I don't know if I could switch cameras. I can't. On Zoom you can switch cameras. So if I wanted to, I could switch over to my iPhone.
Oh.
And then you would see all.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
See, I can't turn my iMac enough.
You have a lot more vinyl than me. I don't have a lot of vinyl.
But see, here's the thing with Grant. Grant got me into CDs now all of a sudden. And I'm like, I love CDs. I used to have a lot. And then during the 90s, I got rid of them, And then I I'm starting all over again. Jesus.
Wait a
Christ.
minute. In the
rid of
90s, you
some,
got
too.
rid of them?
Yeah,
in the
pretty much.
90s?
Early 90s.
That's
Early
when
90s.
That's when you buy them.
I know, man. Don't ask me why.
No. You got rid of vinyl in the early 90s and the late 80s.
Well, no, in
You
the late 80s, we were still, well, I was still listening to vinyl, but then in the late 80s, we were getting into CDs.
Mhm.
Right.
But you were getting out of it.
Changing over.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I never gave up on it. Like I said, kid, you know my philosophy: buy low. I don't care what the medium is. If if vinyl was what was cheap, buy
Yeah.
that. If you're into physical media, I think this whole CD suck thing is kind of stupid, but whatever. It is what it is. Vinyl's still the flavor of the month. It'll all switch around. You get another generation. You get another generation coming in, and they'll go, "Oh my God, look at this! Holy crap, I got this! Look, it's on a silver disc. Oh my God, there's data on it. Oh my God, there's music on this silver disc."
Yeah.
It's like when they look.
hope so.
These kids are looking at vinyl, going, "Oh my God, look, we can play this, and it's got music on it. It'll come around. You'll see it.
No doubt.
Buy low, kids, buy low." All right. Well, I've given my sermon once again. I want to thank these gentlemen for coming on. We give this record an 8.1. So we recommend it. Go check it out. You might like it. I'm sure it's on Spotify and all those digital
Oh, yeah.
It is.
things. So anyway, cool. Byron, Ernesto, John, the Music Nut, I want to thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll do it again. If you guys want to hang out before we stop this, maybe we could talk about the next one.
Right.
All right. All right,
Thank you for all
everybody.
your
Please.
comments.
Yes, thanks for all the comments. Please like, subscribe.
Thumbs
know
up.
the routine. Give a thumbs up for crying out loud. Doesn't hurt. But we will see on the next one. I would tell you what's coming up, but there is so much coming up that we'd be here all night. All right, everybody. So, gentlemen, hang on, and we will talk to you in a bit. See you, everybody. Good night.